This story happened to me in a centuries-old cemetery in New Orleans during the spring of 1991. I remember the air being thick enough to choke on, a soupy mix of humidity and the cloying sweetness of decaying flowers. It clung to everything, even the inside of my nostrils. The city of the dead held secrets I wasn't prepared for. What started as preservation quickly turned into a fight for my sanity. Now, I fear I've unleashed something far worse. I'd taken a gap year, eager to escape the mundane. Working at a cemetery seemed like a unique experience, preserving history among the crumbling tombs. The cemetery was a claustrophobic maze of above-ground crypts, baking under the Louisiana sun. Each day I cleaned, patched, and documented, finding a strange solace in the silence. At first, then I noticed it. One particular tomb began to draw my attention. Strange symbols crudely scratched into the stone kept appearing. They looked vaguely African, tribal perhaps, clustered near the bottom of the tomb. I mentioned it to the old groundskeeper, a man with eyes that seemed to hold centuries of secrets. He just shook his head and muttered, "Some things best left undisturbed." The symbols unnerved me, but their location was even stranger. They were always near the ground, as if someone or something had been kneeling to carve them. And they appeared overnight. The cemetery was locked at dusk and patrolled by security. Soon, the vegetation around the tomb went wild. Moss and vines exploded outward, covering everything. Even more disturbing was the black mold that kept reappearing on the tomb. It was thick, velvety, and seemed to pulse. Bleach did nothing. The air around that tomb changed too. Always damp, even on dry days, with a peculiar acrid metallic odor like old blood. A chilling cold settled in that spot, raising goosebumps even in the heat. I started taking photographs, documenting everything. For the historical society, I told myself. But deep down, I needed to understand what was happening. I needed a rational explanation. Hours in the library revealed symbols connected to a powerful Loa, a spirit of death and transformation. The information was fragmented and contradictory, but the consensus was clear. Don't trifle with this. The defacements intensified, becoming more elaborate, almost feverish. They spread across the tomb, creating a chaotic tapestry of dark energy. Sometimes, I felt like the symbols were watching me. Then the whispers began. At first, I dismissed them as the wind, but they grew distinct. Sibilant sounds slithering into my ears, whispering secrets I couldn't understand. Sometimes I thought I heard my name, distorted, an alien. Sleep became a nightmare. I dreamed of being trapped inside the tombs, surrounded by decaying bodies, cold hands reaching, silent screams. I woke in cold sweats, whispers ringing in my ears. The old groundskeeper noticed the change in me. Pale skin, drawn face, bloodshot eyes. One day he stopped me as I headed toward the tomb. "Leave it be," he rasped. "Some things are best left alone. Just documenting," I mumbled. He shook his head. "That tomb, it's hungry. Don't feed it." "Hungry? It's stone." "Everything's hungry, child. Even the dead, especially the dead." I ignored him, of course, young and arrogant, thinking I knew better. I was determined to unravel the mystery. That night, the nightmares worsened. I dreamed I was lying inside the tomb, beside a coffin. The lid creaked open and I felt a cold breath on my face. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then I saw a skeletal, draped in tattered lace with hollow black eyes. A bony hand touched my face, sending a jolt of icy energy through me. I woke screaming, a touch lingering on my skin. I had to know more about the owner. Records stated it belonged to a woman and her family as wealthy plantation owners in the 19th century, cruel and ruthless, with rumors of dark rituals. She was beautiful, enigmatic, and cold. She died young, mysteriously, shrouded in secrecy. Some said she was cursed. Others said she struck a pact with dark forces. A series of disappearances and unexplained deaths were linked to the tomb. People vanished after visiting, and the bodies were never found. Locals whispered about chanting, shadows, and unnatural phenomena. The more I learned, the more terrified I became. The defacements weren't random. They were part of a ritual, one meant to invoke something dark, and the ritual was unfinished. The final defacement was the most disturbing. Names scratched into the stone in a shaky hand. Local people, ordinary people, neighbors. The next victims? I had to stop whatever force was consuming the cemetery. But how? The groundskeeper's words haunted me. Don't feed it. How do you starve something that exists beyond our world? I decided to perform a counter-ritual. I found an old book in a used bookstore. Arcane knowledge, forgotten spells. It described a ritual to banish or bind dark spirits, but it needed to be done under a full moon. One was approaching, along with a spring storm brewing in the Gulf. I gathered herbs, flowers, candles, incense, and rainwater. I practiced the incantations, stumbling over unfamiliar words, terrified but determined. The night of the ritual was dark and stormy. Wind howled, rain lashed down, trees bent under the pressure. I made my way to the tomb, heart pounding, book clutched tight. The cemetery felt alive, charged with unnatural energy. Shadows twisted and danced. The whispers swirled around me like a chorus of tormented souls. I lit the candles and placed the offerings. The rain tried to extinguish them, but I relit them. I began to chant, my voice trembling. The cemetery responded. The ground trembled. The tombs groaned. The air thickened with the stench of decay. A dark presence closed in. The storm intensified. Lightning split the sky, illuminating grotesque shapes with burning eyes. I chanted louder, pouring all my strength into the ritual. Pain seared through my head. The whispers became screams. Then suddenly everything stopped. The wind died. The rain quieted. The shadows receded. Silence settled like ash. Had it worked? Had I contained the darkness? I didn't know, but I felt hollow, as if the ritual had taken something essential from me. A part of my soul had been ripped away. I stumbled out of the cemetery, leaving everything behind. I never returned. That spring, something strange happened. Flowers bloomed too early, their colors unnaturally vivid. Trees grew stunted leaves. The air carried a lingering scent of decay, a reminder of what I had awakened. I left New Orleans soon after, unable to bear the weight. I tried to forget the tomb, the symbols, the whispers, but the memories stayed, burned into my mind.